Hi guys, what's going on, and welcome back to another episode of Conqueror's Blade. So, today I kind of wanted to go a little bit more in depth into some of the statistical differences between some of the AI controlled units you take with you. More specifically looking at the differences between Maoyang and Ostaria. Because it's really not made very clear, and even with the information we have available it's still not tremendously clear, but I kind of wanted to dig into it a little bit more and just point out a few of the differences that are available. So let's head over to the unit tech tree and I'll kind of explain what I'm talking about. So just on your normal unit tech tree, particularly like say here on the melee section, you'll see that there are different units available. For example, there's the domain pikemen, Halberdier Sergeants, and you'll notice these are kind of all in the westernish type frame. If you look at the Halberdier Sergeants, you'll see they're kind of western-esque in their style, and these are all the Ostarian units. You can see more of them further down. He says, say Javelin Sergeants, they're also an Ostarian type unit. But there's also the Maoyang type units, and these are kind of the much more eastern style units. You see we've got Pike Militia, Prefecture Pikemen and the Imperial Pike Guards. You can see looking a lot more eastern, and these are from the sort of the Maoyang type faction, for want of a better word. And there are differences between the two. And for this one I specifically wanted to look at the two main archer tech trees. So this is the Levy Bowmen through to the Mercenary Longbowmen for the Ostarians, and the Archer Militia through to the Imperial Archers for Maoyang. Because there are different playstyles between the two, and it's kind of not clear necessarily which one you should be going down. Is one better than the other? Should you go, is Ostaria a better tree, or is Maoyang a better tree? And to do this, we're going to take a look at the statistics and kind of break it down a little bit more. I guess I'm going to qualify this with quite a few points. One is that we certainly don't get given all the statistics that are available on these units in the information we get given in game. For example, here it tells us nothing about the unit accuracy, yet unit accuracy is commented on. For example, as one of the abilities pretty early on, increase firing accuracy by 10%. But we have no base information on firing accuracy, so is 10% a good increase or a bad increase? Are they accurate or not? We don't really know. So we've got a little bit we don't know a lot on, but we do get basically their base damage output. We know about the unit's armor, we know about their range, ammo, and the total sort of health and number of units in that unit. It's the number of models in that unit, 24 in this case. So we can work a bit out. And I also want to say that I'm not including any of the veterancy bonuses. I'm just assuming that you can unlock all these yourself, but if I start to include all them in each one, it would be very hard to then work out, so I've not bothered doing that. So yeah, so let's take a look at the do and how they change across the board. Now hopefully, if this recording works as I would like, it has. The Excel document has popped up. Then you'll kind of see the two units and their base stats side by side. So there's a few things that are apparent. The Levy Bowmen are kind of the exception to the Ostarian tree in this, that they're the higher damaging unit in this case. And we can see that both their damage and armor penetration damage in terms of piercing, and all archers do piercing damage, is higher on both. They also have higher health and higher defense. The consequences are that they get 4 models less from the start. They only get 24, not 28. And their leadership is actually 10 more to take them out into battle. But other than that, the Levy Bowmen are a distinctly better unit than the Archer Militia. And I guess that's not unsurprising. I think we can also probably draw the conclusion that the Levy Bowmen have better accuracy, because it's not commented on at all here, only that they have cheap weapons, low armor penetration, whereas in the Archer Militia it's also commented that they have specifically poor shots. But of course we don't get any information about the degree of accuracy they get. We even get like a little graph here that shows a unit summary, but without any relations to what each of these represent, it's kind of hard to work out. It's not particularly useful. So moving on from there, we should be able to scroll along and have a look at the next two in the line, which is the Iron Cap Archers and the Domain Archers. And this is where things fall into the much more natural pattern. And that is that the Maoyang actually have a much higher damage potential, but lower health and defense as a unit of archers. So you can see here that they have the higher piercing damage at 1507, although they do actually get lower armor penetration value, which is kind of interesting. But the Domain Archers, the Ostarians, get much higher health and much higher defense statistics, and that follows through across the board. That's always the case. But I guess you have to ask yourself, how useful is an extra 300 health on a unit of archers? if if an enemy hero gets in amongst them, they're more than likely still going to be one hit to most of his abilities, whether they have 1,000 health or 1,300 health. Doesn't make a staggering amount of difference in my opinion. The same with the defense attributes. It's better than nothing, but it's not a particularly useful ability. Then as we press on from this part of the tech tree, we get onto the Imperial Archers and the Mercenary Longbow, comparing like for like. I'm cutting out the Vanguard Archers because there isn't an Ostarian equivalent unless we're going to go down the Fire Archers. And of course I'm also cutting out the Crossbowmen because if we introduce 27 different unit types, it's going to get really, really confusing. So then things start to open up even more as we get further down. Drag this over so we can see the two units we're talking about. But then we get Mercenary Longbowmen, again, have the same sort of Ostarian base attributes of that. Higher health, much higher resists in terms of armour. Same across the board, they're going to be those stronger units. But again, for me, not that useful. But this time they have significantly lower piercing damage and piercing armour penetration. But they make up for it in terms of their range. They actually get a 90 range rather than 80. Which is kind of interesting. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. I wonder why that is. So then if you dig into things a little bit deeper, you start to highlight some more of the characteristics of the unit trees. For example, even say like the Domain Archers, if we pick some of the veterancy bonuses, a lot of their stuff revolves around accuracy, increased weapon range by 8%, high ground damage bonus, ammo. A lot of it is building on the range, accuracy and range for Ostaria, which is kind of interesting. A bit of ammo there. And if you go along, you find that this kind of is the case quite a long. Increase range by 3%, 3 times. Increase armor penetration, increase weapon range by 6%, so you can get those longbowmen to seriously long range. But that seems to be the main veterancy bonuses are all range related or accuracy related with the Ostarians. Whereas if we sort of look through the Maoyang, a lot of it is more damage bonus. Increase armor penetration, increase piercing damage, increase rate of fire. Not so much increase accuracy. Both of them get increased ammo counts, which is kind of a good thing. But that's true across the board. So if we kind of break it down, there aren't massive differences in damage potential. But as a general rule, Maoyang has higher damage potential than Ostaria. But the Ostarians are going to be increasing accuracy, and with a little bit of research, are going to be having longer range on their archer units than on Maoyang. You kind of have to balance this off. These guys have higher health. The Ostarians on this tech tree have higher health and higher armor, but these guys tend to not to. They tend to be lower health and lower armor. So you're kind of just getting the idea that there's balances between the two. On top of this, of course, you've got various things that can be researched as well. You do get some accuracy increases on Maoyang down here, but still not staggeringly so, and not quite so much as you do with the Ostarians. So that was kind of my point. My point is that there are kind of consistent characteristics along these tech trees, and it's kind of worth knowing about if before you're going to start going down each one, because you can kind of pick and choose then the one you think is going to most suit your playstyle. And of course, I've just picked archers as one example. This is only one sort of one of the tech trees. The same is also true with cavalry. We have the Ostarian branch down here, and then we have the sort of double-branched Maoyang branch down here. As I pointed at the start, same with the melee infantry. All of these have these sort of branches, and they all have various traits and characteristics that kind of suit those branches. So look into which branch it is you want to go down first before you sort of settle down one, or do both if you wanted to. But yeah, there are differences between the two. Anyway, I think that was very rambling. It didn't come out as consistently as I had intended. But anyway, hopefully an interesting video. If it was, let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. Do you kind of enjoy the theory crafting type videos? I certainly need to do a little bit of work on them, but hopefully it's kind of interesting to look down into these statistics a little bit more and kind of see what it's all about. If it is, let me know in the comments down below. Subscribe to the channel for lots more Conqueror's Blade content, and I shall see you guys all on the next video.